Hello fellow guitar and bass geeks, this is the Harley Benton PJ-4 coming in at around €118, which is an insanely low price for what is actually a pretty decent instrument. And I'm going to take this instrument and make it better. Yes, this is a good old mod video. Before I start, however, a little story about why and how this video is happening. So this bass and all the parts that I'm going to use in this video were sent to me by my friend Michiel, who owns all this stuff, and asked me to do this job over 4.5 years ago. And I have no excuse why I haven't done it. It's just got further and further behind my list of priorities, which is a terrible thing to do to a friend. So Michiel, I'm deeply sorry, and I hope to make it up to you soon by fixing this bass up as you asked me to and presenting it to you in person so you can then play it on your channel, Studio 𝗚𝗎𝗓𝗏. The benefit of me having this for 4.5 years is that the fret sprout has settled in nicely. What I mean by that is because this is a cheap instrument. It's made of wood that wasn't completely dry when the instrument was put together, and the wood has shrunken ever so slightly, leaving the metal parts, the frets, sticking out. And I can really feel that, and definitely about, what's that, the 4th and 5th fret, that would cut one's hand to pieces if one wanted to play it. So this bass cost €129 when Michiel bought it. You can now buy it for 118. So is that a good investment or a bad investment? Regardless, I'm going to mod it and fix that fret sprout. Let's look at it before I mod it, however. One of the first things I noticed is that the volume pot is a bit clicky, which I seem to have fixed now. That might have been the 4.5 years of sitting in its case. In fact, it is fixed now. But they're going to get replaced anyway with some concentric knobs. I've got some new pickups to go in. I've got a new bridge. I've got new tuners, a new nut. As I said, I'm going to do the frets, new pick guard, new wiring. All that sort of stuff is going to get done right now. So before I do mod the guitar, I made that little track at the beginning so I can then play it again later with the modifications I've made so we'll hear the difference in sound. But what I'm really aiming for here is a difference in playability, because right now it isn't that playable. The action is high, the fret sprout's there, and I wouldn't want to take that on stage, although I'd be happy with it in a studio if I was just playing a little bit. The main letdown with the sound is that the pickups really don't like lots of attack. So if you pop and slap, as I will try and demonstrate with my guitarist's playing ability of the bass, you'll hear this nastiness. Sounds like someone clapping their hands rather than playing the bass. So I think that's going to be the biggest improvement in the sound, I predict. And I guess the final thing is that the strings are stock and they're not anything special. So these strings are not very nice feeling. The winds are really wide, and I can feel it sliding up and down there. It feels a bit like cheese wire. Pretty much all we're going to be left with stock is the neck, the body, and the neck plate. That's it. Everything else I'm going to change out. So here we go. The first thing I want to do is take the neck off, so loosen the strings up. So undoing those, I noticed that the tuners are a little uneven to the turn. So there's almost a crunching there that you get on these lower priced instruments because, because they're lower priced instruments. If you are new to bass, then you may not notice. But if you've played a few basses that have some money in them and you've spent some money on them, then you'll notice that these feel loose and unpleasant to turn. The next step is to take the neck off, and this is my trusty Ibanez tool that I can happily take around with me everywhere. And that's a good tight fit. There she goes. Neck is off, string tree to come off, and tuners to come off. I'm going to do the neck first, I think, because it feels like I've achieved something, and rather quickly. By the way, this is a little magnetic bowl that I've got that keeps all my parts in there, apart from the plastic part. That'll stop things rolling away underneath your wall of amplifiers behind you. I'm not going to level the frets because it's a bass and I don't have the bass fret leveling equipment to do so. I am going to replace the nut, and I am going to, as I said, round off those edges and basically polish them up. It's not even dried out. It's a really strange wood of this fretboard. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to also hydrate that a little bit. Drill Collins has officially died. Battery's dead. Actually, I found his brother, Drill Mitchell. Now, I've been wondering what's inside this bass since I got it 4.5 years ago. So here we go. What is inside? Have I got all the screws? I think I do. Oh yes, here we go. Right, taking it out. That's pretty good. I mean, they haven't buffed that, but why would they? That looks, you know, for 120 bucks, that is not a bad job. What more do you need in 120 bucks worth of bass? Let's get those pickups out. Now, even if you've modded loads of stuff before or designed things, what I like to do is take photos with my phone of the electronics that are inside before I mess with them. And generally, the whole thing before I mess with it. So just in case I need to put it back stock, I've got a record of how to do it. And what's going on here, of course, is that cable's running through there. I need to get that earth cable and that hot cable off there, which I'm going to do by snipping it just at the end so I can even see what cables were there before I started messing around with it. There we go. Rather unceremoniously detach that from the base. I don't need to do that with these, so I'm going to keep those intact, and hopefully Michaela is going to put them to some good use. And then another tip, if you're taking screws out and you want to leave them in situ, put some tape on them like that, and then the screws will stay with the part it came from, and you won't end up losing them or confusing them with another sort of screw. There we go. So jazz bass pickup is now out. Pick guards out also, so that's everything electronic out. Yes, and the film, the protective film is still on the pick guard. That's still good as new, people. And now we have a naked but painted body, which I think is pretty light for a bass body. And I'm going to put stickers on it, which I'm going to do outside in the blazing sunshine. So join me whilst I punkify this bass body. That was a lot of work. I don't know how many stickers are on this, but that was considerably a lot of work and a learning experience for me. So there is a stickered, covered bass body that I'm pretty proud of. I think it looks awesome. Very, very punky. And whilst I was looking through the big box of stickers for that job, I remembered that Michaela sent me a water slide decal to go on the headstock, which I'd totally forgotten about. So now I need to go and remove this Harley Benton decal and put on a very custom one that Michaela has supplied for me. This is my big box of parts that Michaela ordered. So I've got the tuners, which we'll try out later once the neck and headstock have dried. I've got some concentric knobs. I've got the pick guard, of course. That's the brand new pick guard, which doesn't fit as well as the old one did. So neck pocket, perfect. Got a bit of a gap just here. Can you see that? So I'm going to have to shimmy that round just ever so slightly to make sure that we've got a working body without a hole in it. As for pickups, we've got the Damasio DP126CR. CR being cream, so these are cream pickups. There we go, there's the cases. It's the P&J. So I have no idea what these sound like, but Michiel chose them. I'm sure they sound absolutely fantastic. I hope. As long as I got rid of that massive pop. That's all I'm really concerned about. Right, opening this up. What's in the box? We've got the 2 P-bass pickups, and then the jazz pickup, and some instructions. Whoop-de-doo. One thing that does seem different is the foam underneath the pickup seems shallower than the foam in the original, so that might cause an issue. I might have to shim that a little bit. But there are my screws that I need, and there are the pickups, so I guess I just have to install them now. For the first job, let's get these pots onto the pick guard. Good news, I do not need to route out any of the body, even though the pots are far deeper, twice as deep. There's plenty of space in the body to put concentric knobs. Joy of joys. I was a bit worried about that. Now I don't see a protective... Oh, there is a protective film on here. Let's take that off. I know that will annoy Michiel if I put this all together and have the protective film underneath the pots. Super shiny! Up next is the Switchcraft jack. There's our partly assembled pickguard. I know that everything now should fit if I put it around like so. Yeah, that's actually problematic. The switch is problematic for sure. I could do something super weird that would annoy Michiel, and that would be to put the socket in the middle. Also, I think that would take up more space. But if I had more time and a better routing skill, I would possibly annoy my friend Michiel by putting it around the wrong way. So that lines up with the neck pocket, and the stickers have thankfully covered the old holes, so I can just get a bradawl and put the new holes in. But we are missing we're missing a hole there. Can you see that's going to go straight through to the oh no, does that one as well? No. What is that? Yeah, that hole there is a dummy hole. Oh dear. Right, that's in enough now, so I can now position the pickups. So that's it for me today. It is hot and sweaty, and I need to put some more coats on that headstock. So I'll go and do that and call it a night, and then I'll come back tomorrow and finish all of this and put the bass together. But for you, it's going to be instantaneous. I'm back, and the neck is finished, or rather, the headstock is finished. There, it now says Bass Studio Camille, the Guitar Geek. Lovely job. But I'm going to put that again to one side and finish the electronics in the body before I touch this. The electronics are finished and working, which means I can finally move on to those nasty fret ends on the neck, and also add the tuners and the string tree and the nut, and put the neck on the body and string it up. it is considerably harder and heavier to do that with a bass guitar. It is finished. I am extremely happy. I am so happy that everything that needed to be done is done. Here are some sound samples. Now first, let's hear what the bass sounded like without the modifications, and I'll go straight into with modifications without talking so you can hear the difference. It is immensely fun for me to play bass. I really, really enjoy it. And this instrument is far more enjoyable than it was before I modded it. And some of the mods are the reason for that, and some of the mods are not. But I'll go over the things I've learned in a moment. Let's just talk about the sound. The sound seems to be clearer and generally a wider range of more quality sounds, which is not surprising considering this bass, unmodified with the original pickups and strings and everything, costs €118. And now I've put in quite a lot of money's worth of stuff. I mean, the pickups alone are worth more than half the price of the bass. In fact, I'm not sure of the price of the pickups, but they are considerably more expensive than the pickups that were in here. And just to test that quickly, let's hear that popping. Compared to this, and having that clicking sound there, I think rendered the instrument unusable, at least for many, many applications. And there are some mods that I've done to this that I think really jump up the instrument's level of quality and what it gives back to you. And for me, the main modification that I enjoyed the most was probably the strings, because it's the simplest thing you can do to a bass or a guitar, and it really, really does feel a lot more pleasurable to play. Then secondly is probably the tuners, because the combination of the tuners and the strings make it a more enjoyable instrument to tune and to keep in tune. And I've been ragging this around for quite a while, and it's rock solid tune-wise stability, and it wasn't that case when it was stock. Now, what else would I say? The big mistake in this modification... I've got an itchy nose, sorry. The big mistake in this modification is the pick guard. I would have loved to have kept that stock, because this does not fit this bass very well. And as you might have seen in the sped up bits of the video, I had a bit of an issue getting that neck pocket to fit properly. And these screws just here are doing nothing. They're just glued into the pick guard so they look right. And yeah, I would love to have kept the original pick guard. And I don't think there are many aftermarket pick guards that fit Harley Benton instruments, because they're just off normality, which is quite frustrating. What else? The bridge works wonderfully, even though I had to re-drill the holes that are fitting this bridge to the body, and I kind of guessed it, measured it, but kind of guessed it, and I'm happy that it works, and everything seems to be lined up as it should be. What else? In fact, I made some notes, and there are some things that I learned whilst doing this build. Number one, a guitar is not a bass, and a bass is not a guitar. They are very different instruments and require different skills, and when you're modifying and fixing them and checking them, some of those things, like I was reaching out trying to tune the thing, and I was coming here for the tuning pegs, and they're all the way over there. And then when I was messing with the strings down here, it's really far down there. So working with the bass is very different to working with a guitar. What else? Yeah, something that almost fits is worse than something that doesn't fit at all. So again, back to that pick guard. So this pick guard is for a Fender PJ bass, and this is not a Fender PJ bass. It's almost a Fender PJ bass. It's a very, very close copy, and the body shape is very, very similar. Not similar enough that the pick guard fits, and this is very frustrating when you're trying to line it all up and it doesn't work. So the best thing to do is to fill those original holes and re-drill. Luckily for me, doing these crazy stickers, I covered up all the bits that should be showing if you had, like I think there's a hole just here that wouldn't be covered if there weren't stickers on it. Which brings me to my next point that I've learned, and that is covering a body in stickers is a lot harder and a lot more time consuming than I thought it would be. And one of the main reasons I did it is I didn't want to have to paint it because I thought that would take a long time. This takes longer. I can't believe how much longer this took. However, I do think it looks really, really cool. And I'm not sure if Michiel's going to like it, but I like it. And I would love to play this on stage because I think it looks fantastic. I love the finish, and the stickers just look brilliant. It is, however, one of those mods that doesn't look great on close inspection. So if you look up close, the pick guard, where I tried to get the neck to fit in properly, is not great. And none of these modifications are what I would say worthy of being sold. But as a fun project and as a project for a friend, yeah, I think it's fun, and I hope that Michiel enjoys it. And that brings me on to the last thing that I learned, and that is that I'm a bad friend, and I should not take on projects that I either don't have the time or the motivation to finish. Let's face it, I had the time, I just didn't have as a priority, and that's not the person I want to be. Don't want to get all super serious on you, but the person I want to be is the person that says he'll do something and then does it. And that hasn't always been the case. You know, life gets in the way, but I've been particularly bad with bringing this out. It's not just to do with having motivational time. There was a point where I wasn't exactly having a great relationship with Harley Benton, and I didn't want Harley Benton on the channel. And then, you know, things improved and things changed, and now we're friends again, and that means I can put Harley Benton on the channel. And I will absolutely say that this bass stock is a blinding instrument for €118, and with a few modifications, maybe just the neck and some new strings, it's a really, really good bass instrument. Do everything I've done except the cosmetic upgrades, and you'll have a great instrument that sounds and plays really, really nicely. So, you know, there's that. I guess finally, I wouldn't do this again. I wouldn't spend this money on a bass that costs €118. I think unless you're emotionally connected to that instrument, you are better off buying a more expensive instrument that's good to start with. And there's the Goto version of this, which is already, you know, got much better hardware and I think pickups. I want to say pickups. Yeah, just get that. So even though the €118 bass is good, I would just get the one above it and be done with it, unless your budget really does only stretch that far. But if you're a guitar player watching this, thinking about getting a bass, don't buy that cheaper bass and do some mods like I've done. Get the more expensive one. I'm going to box this up and send it to Michiel, which means this is the end of the video. And that means you're in the end of the video club. And to prove that you are, when you leave a comment telling me what you think of my sticker pop punk bass, please also include the phrase, 4 years? Really? And that will not make me chuckle. It will keep me in check and remind me to do things that I say I will do, and therefore be a better person. Thank you for doing that. Also, YouTube will enjoy, you know, comments and stuff. The engagement helps me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Right, there are videos on your screen over there if you want to go and watch them. There's a subscribe button down there if you enjoyed the video and want to see more from me. Or if you want to have any of the stuff that I featured in this video, I've got links in the video description linking you to the Thomann website and more. I will see you very, very soon. I've been Andy. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.